Dear students, good evening to all of you. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Rajashree Sanjay Kapure Madam. Dr. Kapure Madam is the head of the Department of Psychology. And in HPT Arts and RYK Science College, Nashik. Her research interest is in general psychology, social psychology, positive psychology, developmental psychology, theories of personality, psychometrics and its application, and other special courses. She has more than 20 state and national level conferences, seminar, workshop, and around 5 international conferences attended and presented various research papers. He published several research papers in the international and the national level journals. He completed both the MPhil and the PhD. He guided many students and oh, that's nice. Her hobby is reading vocal classical music, and she is also the Sangeet Bisharad in 2008. So we can expect some Sangeet from Madam.
Thank you, sir. I would like to.
Madam passed graduation from the University of Pune in 1990, and I have received Young Scientist Award from the University of Pune in 1988. So I find there is some similarity. Okay. Possibly I have seen at that time. Madam also showed me, but we have no idea. So we have systematically completed our paper 1. So now you have understood all the units of the first paper. And from today, you will learn the research methodology course, that is the second paper. I am fortunate to say that Madam completed successfully the Applied Psychometric course under the RPRIT. So now it is my pleasure to introduce my student. Madam, you know Farah very well. Farah is your student.
Yes, sir.
And here is Paurobi Khare, Shima R. Sharaf, Dr. Amit Tirpure, Pooja Bharshne, Amruta, and Shara Chavan. So all the students are very sincere and they successfully completed the paper 1. So now it is over to Madam. You can use our Zoom breakout room. If you want, you can use it. Or you can present your PPT, so there will be no problem. Now over to Madam.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for your kind words. I just have one request for Farah, can we start the video or camera on so I can see the faces of our students?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Students, please turn on your camera. Ma'am wants to see your face. Please. Okay. Ma'am, here you can see all the faces.
Seema and Amruta is, I think, still here. Okay, yes. Hello, everyone. Good to see you again. Sarah? Okay. As I requested for day before yesterday when she added me into your group, I just want you to tell about what is the exact reason or motto behind joining this course. Then in one or two line, whatever you are doing at present, not necessary it should be in detail, but how psychology has made you interested in also adding your knowledge related with applied psychometrics as such, and anything additional if you want to share with me. So this will be just 10 to 15 minutes. We will have a formal introduction and then I will start with my today's first topic. Is it okay? We can start with Pauravi.
Hi, ma'am. So I have completed my MA in clinical psychology recently, and right now I'm preparing for MPhil entrance. So that's what I'm doing right now. No like internships or something currently, but I want to increase my basics of psychometrics because in MA it was a bit lagged because online lectures. So I wanted to fill that gap basically.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
nice, nice. And you did your MA in which university?
I mean, it is Mumbai University affiliated, but Chembur College, Vivekanand.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I think same like Sarah.
Yes, same.
Yes. Okay, good. Yes, Pooja, you want to start with?
Hello, ma'am. And my name is Pooja. And currently, I am working as an assistant professor in clinical psychology in Indian Navy Hospitalship INHS Ashwini, Mumbai. And I completed my MPhil in clinical psychology in 2021 from KGMC, King George Medical University, Lucknow.
Okay.
And I was very happy to join this course because I always found some disconnect between foundational concepts and my understanding. And I am very, very fond of research and statistics. So I just wanted to start again from the foundations and see where I can improve.
Oh, great. But Miss, are you really using psychometrics over there in your at present work or before that also?
In my research, I have used like MPhil dissertation and right now in clinical setup, all the assessments which I use, now I've started looking at their use in a more broader way after enrolling in applied psychometrics. So in treatment planning, I'm able to use them better.
Right. Oh, nice. Yes, sir. Amit, Dr. Amit.
Yes. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Myself, Dr. Amit Tripura. I am Associate Professor at Anatomy, Department of Anatomy, AIMS, Raipur. So actually, the reason
you don't have a psychology background.
No, I don't have a psychology
Right.
background. That
right.
was a little weird for me also.
Okay.
But
nice.
my interest, I generated the interest in this subject because one of my research paper was published in Korean Journal of Medical Education, where when I was doing an SME course, Essential Skills in Medical Education in Europe, course I was doing online. So during that, I submitted my research proposal to them. So they only told me that whatever you are doing is psychometrics. I was not knowing about psychometrics. They only told me that this is called as psychometrics. So then I came to know, actually we do spottings in our examination. We do spotters, and on the spotting, the student have to identify the specimen and they have to answer one attached question. So on that item analysis, I applied the item analysis model to spotters. That concept to the spotters. That was called as psychometrics, they told me. So then after that, I generated interest in that this is a very good field. So from that, I generated, and then I came across this advertisement. And a lot of papers in medical education are related to psychology. Many things. So that's why I generated interest and joined this.
Nowadays, they are like collaborating both with social science as well as the pure sciences. Right.
In our conferences also, they have told that you just cross your barriers and at least come interdisciplinary. Join with some other subjects, make it interdisciplinary so that there is a connect.
Yes. Good. Now, NEP is also planning for that interdisciplinary
Yes.
courses rather than just having the vocational or pure STEAM courses. Nice. Okay, great. Yes, Amrita, you can.
Hi, I am Amrita. I just completed my master's in clinical psychology from Mumbai University. So Sara, Pauravi and I are classmates. And I am currently working as a shadow counselor, shadow teacher for special children.
Okay.
And I, in my master's, I've done our dissertation, but there I struggled with the stats and research methodology. So I wanted to brush up the basics and learn more about these things. So that's why I joined the course.
But how you are going to apply the research knowledge in your counseling? Anything you have planned?
Then I want to pursue my career in research only. So that's why I was thinking to join this course.
Nice. Yes, Sarah.
Hello, ma'am. Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
So I completed my master's last year in 2022, and after that I started working as a school counselor for the BMC students with the Empower Company. That is an initiative of Aditya Birla Education Trust. So currently I'm continuing with the job, and I visit BMC schools and provide counseling services to the children. I completed the orientation course, and I was very much intrigued with the pedagogy and the entire course in general. And I wanted, as I already mentioned, that I want to transition completely into research and psychometrics for my career in future, near future. So I was like, let's go ahead and make it like a proper base of knowledge. So I joined foundation schools.
Great. You can definitely take help of Sarah for statistics and all the calculations. She to help me in the applied psychometric course. Okay, thanks to her. Yes. Seema, can introduce.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
At present, I'm working as a JRA in Department of Psychiatry, King John Medical University. I'm working in a project funded by ICMR, which is on the management of adolescents who have internet addiction problem. So currently,
Okay.
I'm in research field.
Okay. That is nice. Very booming topic you have taken for
Yes,
research.
ma'am.
And it is the like need of the hour, I can say. Yes, true.
Yes, ma'am.
That is nice. Oh, good. I think all of you have given the introduction. Sir has introduced me also. You might have been friendly with Farah. So, Farah, you want to introduce yourself again? Yes. Your mic is.
So when we met, I was a student coordinator here. So now I'm program coordinator.
Great.
And yeah,
Promotion.
I was your student. Yes, ma'am. Credit goes to you. You appreciated me a lot, I think. So that is why. And thanks to all the students who have passed out last year. And ma'am, I have done my master's in clinical psychology under you. You have taught me psychometric, actually, psychological testing and psychopathology. And I know you are a great mentor. And what I like about you, I always say that I like your patience, I like your kindness, and you are a great mentor. And I like your passion for of teaching. So that's all, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks again.
Yes.
Okay. So shall I share my screen? If possible, you can switch off your cameras. So it will be more exact network also. Okay. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Actually, rather than immediately starting with the first unit, as I discussed with Sir also and Farah also, I thought I can reshuffle the topics, because though the AP2 module has been adding all the important concepts or terms or the methods related with research methodology, particularly for psychology, I thought I can start with little simpler or little basic topics as such. So today I will be discussing with you about the observation method as such. But before that, I think we can discuss a little bit about what is research or what is scientific research in psychology. So just I can read the content. If anything additional you want to share with me, definitely you can just unmute yourself and you can add up in that. Okay. So first of all, we can say when we talk about research in psychology, it is nothing but it is like a cyclical model. Like each and every step or each and every stage has the dependency on the earlier or prior content as well as the latter content. Okay. Or if we talk about a research question which is based on the research literature, leads to an empirical results of which are published and become part of the research literature. So naturally, when we talk about the scientific research, just now most of you had discussed about it. You are from the clinical psychology, or you are talking about even Dr. Sir has talked about anatomy or physiology. But again, I can say when they talk about scientific research in psychology, naturally we can't ignore the variety of fields related with this science. And all of you are aware about this. There are more than 20 subfields of psychology. And again, we can say not necessary whenever you are planning to do any research. It might be a part of or a broader umbrella of psychology as such, but it might be a sub branch of clinical psychology or counseling psychology or positive psychology or as such. And who are the people actually who are doing research? So naturally, at least at the present situation, we can say the people who are doing the research purely as a MPhil degree holders or PhD degree holders, or even the assistant professors or the teachers who are joined as a university faculty members in the area of research as such. Okay. So naturally, the last point we had to throw a light on this, though psychology is the science of human behavior, so we need to focus more or less on the day-to-day life problems, day-to-day practical problems, rather than just the theoretical problems as such. But yes, some people are also fond of doing some descriptive studies or exploratory studies. So when we are going to talk about the qualitative research, definitely some examples are more related with that exploration and all. Okay. So, sorry. A minute. So anything additional to the first point, somebody wants to add up or want to elaborate on that? Anyone can just unmute himself or herself, and you can definitely tell about it. Shall I continue then? Okay. So now when we talk about observation, naturally, first of all, we have to think about when and how we use that in the research. And first of all, I can say yes, when we do the data collection. So can anyone give me some example of how they have collected the data, or what kind of steps they have followed when they did the data collection for their particular research? It might be at master's level or later on also. Anybody can share a few words about that?
Ma'am, through surveys, like the online
Yes. Okay.
Google forms.
Right. Okay. Google form. Right. And what exactly the method you have applied in survey?
Ma'am, online survey, questionnaires, questionnaire.
I was expecting that only. You have prepared a questionnaire, or you might have borrowed some standardized questionnaire or test, and then you have converted that into Google form, and then you have sent that to your participants. Okay. Anybody else wants to add up additional to this? How
I
one
have
can
done
collect
a
the data? Yes.
experimental study.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Can you elaborate in that, Amrita?
So in the experimental study, there were two groups, one of which there was a manipulation given, and the participant has to write the anxiety-related words. So the number of words that they have completed, so the anxiety level was calculated on the basis of the anxiety-related words that they have completed.
Okay, okay. So you have made two groups. So any particular scientific term for those two groups? Can you tell that?
So one group one was the threatening group and one was non-threatening group. So in the threatening group, I have threatened the male and female participants about their gender status. And other group was control group.
Okay, so usually we use the terms experimental group and control.
Experimental and
right?
control.
Okay, so as per the chosen variable, the names might be different. Great. So now when we talk about naturally the data collection, yes, it is compulsory that in both quantitative techniques as well as qualitative, we are using the data collection, right? But naturally, when we talk about using the data collection as a important step, and if we are not able to reach towards the results or findings, then that data collection might be just unused, or rather it is just, we need to revise that, we need to reframe that. So that itself started with this first module or first subtopic, I can say, that how to collect the data and what are the methods of data collection. So here now when we are talking about various methods compared to qualitative techniques, first of all, we are going to throw a light more on the quantitative data collection methods. And there again, we can say, as per the sampling technique, as per the sampling method, one has to take care of this data collection methods. Okay. So I just added 2 points in that. One is how one can rely on random sampling technique and data collection instruments. And the second is researchers usually rely on various methods in this type on the basis of participants' situational characteristics. Yes. So can we discuss about this? Like if the second point we can discuss, first of all, that when we talk about participants, if your sample size is around 20, for example, and why one has to bother, one has to pay attention to the situational characteristics, or where this particular problem might arise when we talk about the situational characteristics. Anybody wants to explain that?
Ma'am, in experiments, the situational characteristics might affect the responses more.
Right. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, Sarah, by giving some example?
So, okay, so in an experiment, we have the control group and the experimental group, and usually, like for basic research, we consider say 1 or 2 like manipulations or variables. Now, for example, say we are experimenting on the level of energy. I can't think of an exact example, but say how does coffee affect the memory of the participants? We are trying to study that. So one group we are testing right in the morning. We give them coffee and then we test their memory. And one group we do not give coffee, but we test them in the evening after the end of the day, like after the end of a long day. So yes, we would not really know what's the memory affected because of like actually coffee having an influence, or was it fatigue actually causing a delay in memory?
Right,
so
right.
That
yes, very nice. I think all of you agree with this particular example. How the environmental condition, or we can also call them as physical characteristics of the study, are going to affect the participants' responses or overall the data collection. I can also give you one example. Like if I want to check the level of aggression, okay, but I am focusing on some kind of field study related with this, okay. So if I want to divide the sample into 2 groups, like the people who are belonging with urban setup and the people who are belonging with the rural setup, and there if I want to understand about their particular level of aggression, naturally the environment where they are living in, that itself is going to affect their level of anger or irritation, or exactly like I think most of the students are 2 or 3 of you are belonging with Mumbai. So just now I read the message that Sarah was about to finish her work and she's joining this meeting. So there also we can say yes, how they might be committing, how they might be having the conveyance with the local trains and everything, and just immediately now switching off from that background, and she is attending the class. Okay, right, Sarah? So in that way also we can say yes, these are the participants' situational traits or characteristics, which are also some or the other way going to impact or influence about our data collection. Okay. Same way when they talk about the first point, that is rely on random sampling technique, as well as we have to rely on the data collection instruments. Just now, the next point of your module is related with survey. There they have added about like online survey or panel survey. So when we talk about these instruments, or rather the techniques which we are applying or using for data collection. So again, each and every technique, each and every instrument has its good points as well as bad points. So when they talk about these methods, one could not neglect that, or we should not neglect that, but we have to take into consideration. Okay, I think you are understanding what I mean to say.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, student. Okay. Then I have also mentioned about the typical characteristics, strategies related with this quantitative data. So first of all, it is experiments, or it might be clinical trials, like when you are working on the clinical setup, for example, mental asylums, or you are dealing with the dyslexic children also, or some children who might have some issues related with psychopathology as such. There also they are trying to do the experiments, or actually clinical trials are more related with the pure sciences, like some new drugs or some new what you can say, the invention is related with some pharmaceutical drug asset, and there they are using these particular clinical trials to check how far the invented or the newly produced drug is suitable or not as such. Then when they talk about the second method, that is observing and recording well-defined events. Yes, naturally, later on also we will be explaining that observation as such. But when we talk about the observation, more or less we that is whoever is the researcher, whoever is the person who is collecting the data, they are not making it aware to the participant or the observee about what they are going to do. Okay. Or rather, sometimes this will be more or less in a natural setup. They don't want to intimate, they don't want to give the prior information to the person, whoever has been observed. Okay. Because then and then only they are going to go towards that well definition of the events, or rather the recordings of that. And next is obtaining relevant data from management information systems. This is usually called as MIS. Okay, like in college nowadays, people are using this MIS system as such to get the exact data of students or even the other staff members and everything. And last is administering surveys with closed-ended questions. Just now, as you people have used the questionnaire or Google form, but in especially the data collection techniques, there are different ways of using this particular technique. So one might be face-to-face, that is, you can take the interviews also. You can also apply the telephonic interviews, or you can also get use the questionnaires. Those might be the self-prepared questionnaires, or they might be the standardized questions. Okay. Now, actually, I am starting with this concept of observation. So as per the syllabus, though there are different methods or subtypes of observation, I try to add it only two of them. One is controlled and one is naturalistic. I think all of you might be very clear about definitions, or rather the exact difference as such, but still we can just brush up our earlier knowledge related with this. First of all, they have mentioned the observation method is the most commonly used method, especially relating to behavioral sciences. So compared to, we can say, the natural sciences or pure sciences, we do use or we do apply this technique in behavioral sciences. It is not only in psychology, but even the other behavioral sciences like political science or even sociology or the other sciences. Then the next is, in a way, we all observe things around us, but this sort of observation is more known as scientific observation. So naturally, what is the difference between observation and scientific observation? Can anyone tell me by just giving some small example?
So maybe that in scientific observation, we are deciding certain units that For example, how many times this child has shouted at another classmate, for example. So in just observation, we will just observe everything that is happening without assigning any specific meaning to it.
Okay. Or we can also say, like if I'm just standing on the waiting for the bus, for example, and I'm observing the passengers or passerby. Okay, so that is not the scientific observation, right? Because I just want to spend the time till the bus comes. So that time I'm just observing whatever the events are happening in my surrounding area. So that will be the very common and very simple technique as such. But yes, there in itself, if somebody is allowing me or somebody is pushing me, yes, you need to observe the people in this particular period of time. Or for example, if I'm standing there for half an hour or 20 minutes as such, so what type of people you have observed, or what was the age group, from which roadside they were coming, or what kind of clothes they have owned, or anything as such. Okay, though it is not a pure scientific, but yes, it is little bit one step ahead rather than the earlier observation. Agree, all of you?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. Now we will be exactly talking about this. When they talk about observation, this method implies the collection of information by way of investigation, observation without interviewing the respondents. Yes, like compared to the other methods, how this observation is more or less different. So first of all, they are saying there won't be any interview of the respondents. Okay, you are not going to ask them anything. You are not even trying to collect the data by using some questionnaire or test or anything. But we will be, as a researcher, are just trying to find out what are the things are going to be expressed or rather shown by the respondent. Then next is based on current or present situation and not complicated by past behavior. Yes, I can say this is a big advantage of observation method, because you are not very biased, okay, or you don't have any kind of prejudice in your mind when you are looking at that participant or the respondent, because it will be like we used to call a clean slate. We are just looking at the person as a clean slate, and whatever he is showing, whatever he is communicating, whatever he is trying to justify his point, or whatever the interaction coming up in that particular situation, you are just trying to understand that, or rather throw a light on that. Okay. The next is suitable when respondent doesn't disclose the information in verbal manner. Yes, not necessarily always observation will be like verbal, in the verbal way as, okay, because you can imagine the, for example, the small children's class in the school, okay, and if the principal madam comes and enters into the class, they might not be expressing anything through language as such, but still the principal can be able to understand what is going on there. Okay, so when they talk about exactly in observation, it might be just the nonverbal gestures also, or communication also, the way they are showing, expressing, or the way they are having their looks, or rather the movements and physical movements as such. These all also will be considered or added in the observation. The next is same like the earlier point, doesn't expect active participation from the respondents, because here the experimenter, or rather the researcher, he is at a, I can say that at a core stage or center stage. His role is nothing but observing the respondents, and maximal way he is going to understand what they are showing or how they are expressing their particular thoughts or opinions. The next is, it is not influencing respondents' future intentions and attitudes. As I said earlier, the researcher is also very much looking at a respondent in a clean slate. Same way, there won't be any impact or influence of this particular data or the information collected by the researcher on his future intentions or attitudes also. Like usually we say, what are the event or situation the researcher has fixed to observe, later on he is not going to relate that with the future aspects, or rather the forthcoming events as such. And due to that, not necessarily all the points are good points of observation as a method, but definitely there are some drawbacks also, or limitations also. So compared to the other methods of data collection, this is little expensive method as well as time consuming. Can anyone explain this point? Why it is expensive and why it is time consuming also?
So time consuming because we have to wait for specific events to take place. We can't control them like in a laboratory.
Right.
Um,
Why it is expensive also?
No, I can't think.
No issue. No issue. Anybody else? Sir, Amit sir, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
You can, if you want to try. How
Yes,
it is
ma'am.
expensive? Yes.
Expensive in terms of means we have to spend a lot of time. If actual researcher is taking part, it's okay. Otherwise, if you are employing someone, he has to, for example, I think what I know from this, I think if we are doing ethnography, which I know that you have to actually go into the surrounding, take the expenditure, you have to wait there and see for the phenomena to happen.
Yes, great. Yeah, we can also simply explain this. Now in observation, it is 1-to-1 or max 1-to-2. Okay. But if your sample size is more than 2, like 10 or 20 or 30 also, at each and every participant's observation, the researcher or his assistant or whoever is helping him has to spend the same amount of time actually. Yeah. So naturally, because of that only, as sir has given the example of ethnography, but if you talk about any kind of observation used in the research assets, it will be like multiply by so many number of hours you are using for the one participant. Okay. So that's only we say ki when we talk about observation in social sciences, naturally it has some limitation, and unless and until the researcher has big enough time in hand, as well as he has the facility to spend good amount of money also, then definitely they can use this, not necessarily as a one single technique, but with another sub techniques of research data collection also. Okay. And last they have mentioned unforeseen factors may arise and disturb the setting and interfere the observation task. Sorry. So this is again we can say like first point we have referred about situational character of participant. Same way, if you talk about if we are going towards some field and there you are trying to observe something of your participants or respondents, there itself, the situation might not be in your hand. Okay, you might have planned very rigorously 8 days back before and you had done all the good planning over there. But at the last minute, there are some emergency situations may arise and then it is going to affect your particular data collection. Still, observation is very much used in psychology or the other sciences. And I just noted some of the fields related with this. All of us, most of us have studied developmental psychology as one of the important branch of psychology. Their observation has been used for the participants or the various researchers as such. Then yes, anthropology, behavioral modification, social psychology, and other empirical research. Compared to the other methods, still the observation is little bit complex because there the role of researcher is at a very, we can say he is at a stake. Okay, because the major reason we can say he has to use his all basic 5 senses in order to collect the data. जसं मराठीत आपण म्हणतो ना की मी कानावर माझ्या काहीतरी पडलं पण डोळ्यांनी ते नीट बघितलं नाही किंवा रादर डोळ्यांनी ते नजरअंदाज केलं तर नॅचरली इट इज गोइंग टू अफेक्ट द information whichever he has collected. Okay, so he should have the perfection, or rather he has to very appropriately and approximately using his all 5 senses to use this observation method in his research asset. So simply I have just given the definition of observation. I will just read that. Observation has been defined as a selection, provocation, and encoding that set of behaviors and settings or setting concerning an in situ which is consistent with empirical aims. So again, if you repeat the 3 concepts they had in this, one is selection, second is provocation, and third is encoding. So when whoever the researcher tried to finalize that he has to use the observation method in his research, naturally before using or selecting this particular method, he need to think about why he is using this particular method as such. Okay, like sometimes if you are doing the experimental study, if you are doing the qualitative research, or if your sample size is little less in the particular study as such, and there you feel it is more convenient or more feasible. At the same time, what are the assumptions you had decided prior to your particular research work as such, that itself are going to allow you to decide, yes, this is one of the method I'm trying to continue in my research. And second is provocation. Definitely, there are different social psychology research which has, I can say, pushed or motivated the researcher to use this observation method as such. Later on, we will be discussing some examples also. And last is, yes, encoding. Because when we talk about the non-verbal behavior of the participant, or if they are also expressing something in a verbal manner, but how the interpreter, how the researcher is trying to understand the language of the participant is very much important. Because if the front person is talking about 10 lines and the researcher is unable to grasp the things or not able to summarize the things or rather extract the things, then again this method may not be that useful as it. So in all, we can say, yes, to check the behaviors or set of behaviors, these all three methods or processes, I can say, will be applicable in this observation. So now what are the basic advantages, we can say? So first is the information is sought by way of investigation and it is direct observation without asking from the respondent. Already we had discussed about that. Then second is, for example, if we are talking about the person is trying to check the consumer behavior as such, and the respondent is, for example, and the good brand wristwatch. So rather than asking him what kind of watch you are wearing, they can just check which kind of watch he is wearing, and through that they are trying to relate what kind of consumer behavior of the participant. The next is how the subjective bias is eliminated if observation is done accurately. Yes, anybody wants to explain this? What is bias and what is subjective bias, and why there might be a possibility of this in observation?
So for example, if we ask the participant to self-report how extroverted they are, they might say that I am very outgoing or I can mix very well with people. But in observation, if we don't come across the same thing, so that gap is detected, so that bias can be eliminated by observing.
Yes, yes, very nice. Usually it happens, like if you are using the self-report inventories or rather the test, where there is a chance to the participant to hide some of the things, okay? Because actually it may not be always if they are expressing or giving the responses very honestly. 100% honesty may not be expected there in self-report inventories, but in observation, definitely we can check and recheck about this, okay, how far the person is really expressing in an honest manner or rather the frank manner. Okay. Then the information obtained under this method relates to what is currently having is not complicated by either the past behavior or future intentions or attitudes. Already I have explained this point. When they talk about the respondent's behavior, the present behavior, it should not be again manipulated or diplomated by the earlier events or the past events as well as what he is going to do next. Okay, so naturally, even the researcher is also looking at that person or respondents in the same manner or the same way. And last is, this method is independent of respondents' willingness to respond and relatively less demanding of active cooperation on the part of the respondents, and happens to be the case in the interview or the questionnaire method. Yes, so if you compare the latter methods like interview or questionnaire, compared to that in observation, there won't be that active cooperation or rather active participation, by the respondents. Or even though he may not be that willing to take a part or to be a part of the study, still the researcher can continue doing this observation as such. Is it okay? All of you understanding what I mean to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Clear? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, actually, I just elaborated about these two methods. So naturally, by the term itself, you can guess natural observation and the other is controlled observation. So if you just find out on Google also, you might get various examples, but I just jotted some of the examples which we have already studied. So when they talk about the natural observation, where it can be possible and who are the people who are using this natural observation. So naturally, it is actually the area of ethologists who are studying the animals in their natural environments, or usually call them as habitats, okay? Or even the anthropologist and sociologist. Then social psychologist and behavioral analyst. So most of these fraternity people are using the participant observation, or usually we call it as a natural observation. And how it is different rather than the controlled observation, or which are the exact features of this. So first of all, they have mentioned it usually occurs in a natural setting, like in day-to-day life also. If I'm just staying in one apartment, and there in the evening time, I'm just sitting in the garden and I'm observing the children who are playing at a garden. Okay, so this will be a very natural setup as such, and there the observation will take place. Okay, or we can also take some social psychology example, like when the riots take place, or when there is a exact or very intensified level of the aggression of the people, and there the observer or the researcher might be just having a look at that, why the people are involving into that aggressive acts. Okay. Then second is significant events or occurrences were captured of persons being. So naturally, though it is a natural observation, whoever is the researcher who is looking at the respondents or the participants as such, they try to shortlist, they try to gather the data on the basis of the some specific events as such, okay, or how those events are going to occur in the future also, or how it is going to affect the latter events also. Okay, so in that way, the natural observation will be more suitable, or rather more important. Then next is tries to find out important regularities of social life. Like earlier also, if you might have taken this particular example, like when we talk about various levels of person's behavior. Okay, but if there is no change in his personal behavior with the interpersonal behavior or group behavior as such, then definitely to check that, or rather to revise that also, we can use this natural observation. This is usually if the person is a little stubborn at family level or home ground, his same stubbornness might be continued when he is doing any job or at an office place or workplace as such. So in that way, we can say yes, this natural observation will be more related with taking into consideration the typical characteristics or traits of the person. Next is, it tries to provide graphic description of human life. Yes, I think this is the one of the very suitable technique, or rather the process through which we can be able to understand how, what kind of the individual is, or what are the various characteristics of him or her, and we can be able to have a very what can say, the graphical description of that particular person. It might be like a chain of events or sequence of events also, and through that we that is the researcher is going to reach towards certain findings and conclusions. And last, I have given this example of, I think most of you might have heard about this. There was one study or research conducted by Stanley Milgram on the obedience concept or term as such. And there also, I think the same technique of observation has been used. Okay. So these are the typical features or characteristics of natural observation. Any doubt or anything you want to ask me at this moment about this type? Is it clear? All of
Yes, yes, clear, ma'am.
Okay. Compared to that, how the second type is, we can discuss. So in control, by the name itself, you can understand, like in natural, it is all natural. Like there won't be any kind of artificial environment or artificial situation as such. Compared to that, in control, naturally the researcher is going to have the mechanical setup or some artificial setup, and there he is going to conduct some observation as such, or usually we can say it is like a definite pre-arranged experimental procedure. That's why only it is called as controlled observation. So again, I have given the very famous observational learning experiments example, that is Bobo doll study, because there itself Bandura has given the particular setup related with that observational or social learning, and he has used that technique of control observation there. Okay, then yes, compared to natural observation, this control observation demands or helps in accuracy and standardization. So at this moment also, I can ask you, can we expect the more generalized explanation in natural setup or natural observation compared to a control observation? What kind of generalized findings are more possible in the earlier one or this one?
My guess is natural.
I think control.
Natural. I feel in naturalistic conditions.
I asked about the generalized results or rather the findings. So can you explain a little bit about that, Sarati, how it is more possible in naturalistic conditions?
Ma'am, so in the controlled setting, whatever the person, like whatever reactions or whatever the person behaves in a controlled setting, that given if they are not children, if children are there, they do not have that much of understanding that they are being watched. But if we are observing adults, the sense of we are being monitored, we need to give a particular behavior that kicks in as a human tendency. So then whatever they are doing in a controlled setting might not actually be what we might observe in the natural setting. As well, when we are seeing like people, say for example, we are trying to observe aggression, and if we are trying to observe aggression in a controlled setting, obviously people are going to behave in a socially acceptable manner. But the same thing, if we want to observe aggression, say at peak hours in local trains, so that way I'm saying it would have an influence.
So I think I will agree with both of you, or even I think Amruta said about the artificial setup or control setup. So as per the variables or as per the characteristics which we are trying to or like planning to observe, on the basis of that, again, both the methods might have the definite arrangements or rather the results. Because when we talk about control observation, not necessarily the person immediately after finishing that method or rather that event particularly will behave or continuously behave in the same manner. Okay. Same way when we talk about the naturalistic observation, for a time being or rather for some particular reason or some kind of good benefit of persons, they might be behaving in that particular typical way. Otherwise, they might have some definite different manner of behaving as such. So that's only, but still they are saying the maximum possibility of accuracy and standardization. Because see, when they talk about standardization, all of you have studied already the psychometrics. Okay, there we are trying to reach towards some definite or compulsory characteristics, like how far it is reliable, how far it is valid, or how the particular scores can be applicable for the masses or rather the groups as such. So compared to naturalistic observation, they are saying in control, we are expecting more correctness, or there will be less kind of mistakes or wrongness, and that will itself helps to go for standardization, right? The next is such observation has a tendency to supply formalized data upon generalizations can be built with some degrees of assurance. Yes, like what are the study till now has been utilized for control observation. They are trying to check how far this same earlier data can be applicable for the next generalization or rather next findings as such. And last is it takes place in various experiments are carried out in the laboratory or under controlled conditions. So that setup itself allow to reach towards some result. Anybody wants to ask? Yes, Amir, sir? Yes.
Actually, I have not understood this controlling of observation. Can you just give a very simplistic example how to control this observation, how it is different from natural?
Yes, very. I can give you one example. Like if I want to take an example, like most of the time in psychology, the students who are taking special psychology, for example, we try to divide them into two groups, for example, like those who are doing the particular experiment and those who are just sitting in the class to observe their particular experiment. Okay. So when we talk about the controlled observation, naturally, the particular groups has been assigned with some kind of task, okay, or some kind of activities, and the other one might be just taking the rest at that particular time. And when we arrange such a situation, naturally we can't arrange this situation in a very naturalistic setup. Like if I go at some particular field as such, and there I am gathering these students groups as such, and I am trying to make them become aware about this particular control group and experimental group kind of activity. Okay, so when they talk about the control observation, I'm not just thinking about how the children or students are responding to the chosen variable, but my main goal or motto will be what I am observing them right from the beginning, how they have started with the looking at a particular setup, or how they are responding that particular questionnaire, or how they are trying to become familiarized with that particular assessment and everything. So this all will be controlled in a very stringent manner. It won't be like whatever you do, I am just handing over them the questionnaire and they are doing at their own. Okay, then we can't call it as a control. Am I making sense?
Okay, actually, miss,
Okay.
am I right if I say that in a garden, some students or some children, they have to play only football, and
Yes.
some can choose anything?
Miss, you can say about that, but still, while playing the football, if the child might be just observing or rather just repeating the same thing whatever his coach has told, okay, so he's under control. Nah? He's
Okay.
not playing his natural game. Are you
Okay,
getting
means
it?
if means in football or in football also, if some student have been told that you just do dribbling, and
Yes.
some have been told that you do whatever you want.
Right. So actually, means their actions or responses are going to determine by the prior findings, or means I can say the prior learning. Okay. Okay. So because that's only this, not necessarily in psychology laboratories again, we will be able to make the typical laboratory condition, because again, there are so many X factors, or usually call them as the situational variables, are going to influence the responses of your respondent. Yes, then the last is, though we have studied the pros and cons of this, both the methods or both the types as such, but in overall way, we can say, yes, it has certain limitations. So first of all, we can say this method is very expensive. Okay, because naturally, as we have already discussed, it requires a lot of time also, as well as it requires the patience, or it also requires the money from the monetary point of view. Okay. Then next is the information provided by this method is very limited. Yes, it can't be very much detail, or we can't try to expect the person or the respondent is going to tell you each and everything, whichever you have not asked also. Okay. So in that way, we can say, yes, the whatever your goal, whatever your objectives you had decided, out of that objectives also not necessarily all the objectives might be fulfilled by at the end of when you have collected some data or information by your participants. Then, as already we had discussed earlier, sometimes unforeseen factors may interfere with the observation. Like though you have planned accordingly, or you had tried to complete the work, but at the last minute or at the in between also there are some unforeseen or emergency factors might arise, or rather sometimes your participants may just go away and they won't cooperate with you, or they are not ready to be a part of your particular study as. And the fact that some people are rarely accessible, observation creates obstacle for this method to collect data effectively. Just say now we have the n number of techniques to gather or collect the data, but in observation, the participant must be physically or offline present in front of you. Then and then only you are going to complete that particular method as such. So that's only we can say this is the major limitation of this method. So here I tried to throw a light or complete this particular content, and hope I have tried to explain that and you have understood that clearly. Still, if any doubt or if you want to add up something from your point of view, you can add up that. We have still 2 minutes. I can just stop sharing.
And in terms of worldview, it will go into positivism.
Can you repeat, Amit sir? I couldn't hear you.
In terms of worldview, it will go into positivism, I think.
Okay. Right. from the point of view of psychometrics or from the point of view of further research, how
No,
far
actually
we can
research
rely on
methodology
these
means
methods or how
as
we can
such
use
for
it.
research methodology.
Yes, yes.
Generally
Right.
it's like positivism and interpretivism or critical
Yes,
realism.
yes.
So I
Right.
think it is positivism because we are not dealing with or we are not changing any environment. We are just observers.
Yes.
It is
True.
just positivism.
Yes. True.
But controlled observation, I think there is some.
It's
We
more
are
tricky.
interfering.
Yes, it
We
is
are
more tricky.
interfering there.
Yes, yes. Sir, I have done the okay thing. Raj, sir. Perhaps sir is there or no?
Yes, sir. Sir,
Okay.
are you there?
Okay.
I think he's in breakout room.
No. If any doubt or question is there, otherwise, I think can complete today's point.
No doubts, ma'am. This was a good revision for everything we've learned.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I thought we will start with a little simpler method first because still I think as a few of you are not having the background of psychology or research methodology, but yes, data collection is one of the very familiar topic or important topic and it is useful wherever you go. The next lecture I am going to cover the survey method. Okay, so it will be welcome if you also gather some information at your end, so it will be more interactive like today. Farah, shall we stop?
Ma'am, just 1 minute.
Huh, yes,
I'm
yes.
calling, sir. Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Okay, ma'am, let's end this here. I think sir is not
Okay.
here. Yeah. Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
yes. Bye.
Okay,
Okay.
bye.
Now Wednesday, na? We have the class on Wednesday.
Yes, ma'am. Wednesday.
Yes, same time. Okay. Bye.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Good night,
Bye.
ma'am.
Goodbye.
Sir, are you there? Okay, everybody, please leave.